The story begins with the ant, a hard-working and responsible critter. He lives in a small colony with other ants, and his days are spent working lifelessly to gather food and inventories for the downtime. The ant understood the significance of being prepared for the future, and he made it his charge to ensure that his colony would have enough to survive the harsh downtime months. He'd wake up beforehand in the morning and head out to probe for food, lifelessly carrying back whatever he could find to the colony. He'd organize and store the food in a safe place, icing that it would last throughout the downtime. He also made sure that the colony's nest was well isolated and defended from the rudiments. The ant was a part model for the other ants in the colony. They saw how hard he worked and how well he managed to prepare for the future. They followed his lead and worked together to gather food and inventory. As a result, the colony was always well prepared for downtime, and they no way went empty. The ant's hard work and responsible station weren't only salutary for his colony but also the other brutes in the timber, as they would frequently seek help from the ants during the downtime. The ant's responsible station was the commodity that the other brutes in the timber respected and admired. The ant's hard work and the responsible station had come a part of his identity. It was what defined him, and it was the commodity that he took great pride in. He understood that his conduct had a direct impact on the survival of his colony, and he was determined to do whatever it takes to ensure that they would be safe and well prepared for the future. The grasshopper, on the other hand, was the complete contrary of the ant. He was debonair and reckless, and he did not suppose about the future. He spent his days singing and dancing, enjoying the warm sun and the sweet quencher of the flowers. He had no worries or enterprises, and he did not suppose about the future. The grasshopper allowed that life was meant to be enjoyed and that he should live in the moment. He believed that there was no point in fussing about the future, as it would take care of itself. He did not understand the significance of being prepared for the future, and he allowed that the ant's hard work was gratuitous. The grasshopper's debonair station had come a part of his identity. It was what defined him, and it was the commodity that he took great pride in. He believed that life was too short to be spent working hard, and that he should enjoy it while he could. He allowed that the ant's responsible station was a waste of time and that he should be living life to the fullest. The grasshopper's debonair and reckless station was the commodity that the other brutes in the timber set up entertaining, but they also knew that it could lead to problems in the future. They knew that the grasshopper was not prepared for the downtime and that he'd have a hard time surviving when the downtime came. They hoped that one day the grasshopper would learn the significance of being responsible and planning for the future. As the summer came to an end, the ant noticed that the days were getting shorter and the rainfall was starting to change. He knew that downtime was coming and that it was time to start preparing for it. He approached the grasshopper and advised him to start preparing for the downtime, but the grasshopper did not hear from him. The grasshopper dismissed the ant's advice, allowing that it was gratuitous and that there was a plenitude of time to prepare latterly. He believed that the ant was just trying to spoil his fun and that he should be allowed to enjoy the remaining days of summer. He allowed that the ant was just being paranoid and that there was no need to worry about the future. The ant tried to explain the significance of being prepared for the future, but the grasshopper did not want to hear it. He allowed that the ant was just trying to control him and that he did not need to hear from him. He allowed that the ant's responsible station was a waste of time and that he should be living life to the fullest. The ant, being a responsible and hard-working existent, knew that the grasshopper would have a delicate time when downtime came. He knew that the grasshopper was not prepared for the future and that he'd have a hard time surviving the harsh downtime months. He hoped that the grasshopper would hear his advice and start preparing for the downtime, but the grasshopper was determined to live in the moment and enjoy the remaining days of summer. Winter eventually came, and the ant was well prepared with the plenitude of food and inventories to last through the cold season. He'd stored enough food to last the downtime and had made sure that the colony's nest was well isolated and defended from the rudiments. The colony was safe and warm, and the ants were suitable to survive the harsh downtime months. The grasshopper, still, was caught off guard. He hadn't heeded the ants' advice and hadn't prepared for the future. He set up himself without any food or sanctum, as the flowers he'd been feeding on were gone and the warm rainfall had faded. He was cold, empty, and alone, and he did not know what to do. He realized the significance of being prepared for the future and the consequences of being reckless. He realized that the ants' advice wasn't to spoil his fun but to ensure his survival. He was ashamed of his conduct and felt shamefaced for not hearkening to the ants' advice. He knew that he'd act snappily if he wanted to survive the downtime. He searched for food and sanctum but set up nothing. The other creatures in the timber were also preparing for the downtime and did not have redundant to partake. He started to lament not preparing for the future and not hearkening to the ants' advice. He knew that if he'd heeded the ants' advice, he'd have been well prepared for the downtime and would not be in this dilemma. With no other options left, the grasshopper was forced to turn to the ant for help. He knew that the ant was well prepared for the downtime, and he hoped that he'd be suitable to help him. He approached the ant colony, feeling embarrassed and shamed. When the ant saw the grasshopper, he knew that he was in trouble. The ant knew that the grasshopper hadn't prepared for the downtime and that he'd have a hard time surviving. But rather than turning him down, the ant took pity on the grasshopper and offered to help him. The ant told the grasshopper that he must take responsibility for his conduct. He explained that the grasshopper's debonair station had led to his current dilemma and that he must take responsibility for it. The ant offered to educate the grasshopper on how to prepare for the future and become more responsible. The grasshopper was surprised and thankful for the ant's offer of help. He knew that he'd made a mistake by not hearkening to the ant's advice, and he was willing to learn from him. He knew that he'd a lot to learn about being responsible and preparing for the future. He knew that it was the only way to survive the downtime and not be in this dilemma again. The ant took the grasshopper under his sect and tutored him on how to gather food and inventories for the downtime. He showed him how to make a warm nest to survive the downtime. He tutored him on how to plan for the future and how to be more responsible. The grasshopper was a quick learner, and he was determined to make up for his once miscalculations. The grasshopper was a quick learner, and he was determined to make up for his once miscalculations. He was determined to take responsibility for his conduct, and he was willing to do whatever it takes to survive the downtime. He learned from the ant, and he started to gather food and inventories for the downtime. He'd wake up beforehand in the morning and head out to probe for food, lifelessly carrying back whatever he could find to the colony. He'd organize and store the food in a safe place, icing that it would last throughout the downtime. He also made sure that his nest was well isolated and defended from the rudiments. The grasshopper's hard work and responsible station impressed the ant and the other creatures in the timber. They saw how hard he was working to prepare for the future, and they respected him for it. They knew that the grasshopper had learned his assignment and that he was determined to make up for his once miscalculations. As the downtime progressed, the grasshopper's sweats paid off. He had enough food and inventories to last through the downtime, and he'd made sure that his nest was warm and defended from the rudiments. He'd survived the downtime, and he'd learned an important assignment about the significance of being responsible and preparing for the future. The Grasshopper's trip was a memorial that it's no way too late to change and learn from our miscalculations. It's important to take responsibility for our conduct and plan for the future and always be willing to learn from others. The grasshopper's metamorphosis from a debonair and reckless critter to a responsible and hard-working bone was an alleviation to others, and it's a story that's passed on from generation to generation, reminding us of the significance of responsibility. As the coming downtime approached, the grasshopper was well prepared. He'd learned his assignment and had taken responsibility for his conduct. He'd gathered enough food and inventories to last through the downtime, and he'd made sure that his nest was warm and defended from the rudiments. He was ready for whatever the downtime had in store for him. As he looked back on his trip, the grasshopper could not help but feel thankful for the ants' help. He knew that he wouldn't have been suitable to survive the former downtime without the ants' guidance and support. He knew that the ant had shown him the significance of responsibility, and he was thankful for that. The grasshopper went to the ant colony to thank him for all his help. He told the ant how important he appreciated his guidance and support, and how much he learned from him. He told the ant that he learned the significance of being responsible and preparing for the future, and he promised that he'd in no way make the same mistake again. The ant was happy to see the grasshopper's metamorphosis and how much he'd grown. He told the grasshopper that he was proud of him and that he was happy to have helped him. He told the grasshopper that he was always welcome in his colony and that he was always there to help him. The grasshopper's trip had come full circle. He was now a responsible and reputed member of the community. His story serves as a memorial that it's no way too late to change, and that with hard work and determination, anyone can come to a responsible existence. The ant and the grasshopper continued to work together throughout the times, and their fellowship grew stronger. The grasshopper had learned his assignment and had come to a responsible and reputed member of the community. He was known for his hard work and his responsible station, and he was admired by all the other creatures in the timber. The ant and the grasshopper would frequently be seen working together, gathering food and inventories for the downtime. The ant would show the grasshopper new ways to gather food, and the grasshopper would bring his unique ideas to the table. Together, they were suitable to gather further food than either of them could have done alone. The grasshopper's metamorphosis hadn't gone unnoticed, and he was frequently called upon to help other creatures in the timber who were floundering. He'd partake his knowledge and experience with them, and he'd educate them on the significance of being responsible and preparing for the future. As time passed, the grasshopper came known as the leader of the community, and he'd frequently be called upon to break problems and help others. He'd come to be a reputed and trusted member of the community, and he was proud of his achievements. The ant and the grasshopper's fellowship was a memorial that we can always learn from others, and that with hard work and determination, anyone can come to a reputed and responsible member of the community. Their story is passed on from generation to generation, serving as an alleviation to all who hear it. The story reaches a climax when a severe winter storm hits the village, and the community is caught off guard. The storm is so severe that it causes widespread damage, destroying homes and leaving many animals without food or shelter. The village was in chaos, and everyone was struggling to survive. The ant and the grasshopper knew that they had to act fast to help their community. They gathered a group of volunteers and set out to help those in need. They worked tirelessly, rescuing animals trapped in the storm and helping to rebuild homes that had been destroyed. The ant and the grasshopper had their unique strengths, and they worked together to help the community. The ant's strength was in his organization and planning, and he helped to coordinate the rescue efforts and distribute resources to those in need. The grasshopper's strength was in his ability to think on his feet, and he came up with creative solutions to the problems that arose during the storm. As the storm raged on, the ant and the grasshopper's efforts paid off. They were able to help many animals in need, and they were able to make sure that everyone had enough food and shelter to survive the storm. They had saved their community from certain disasters, and they had done it together. The story reaches its climax with the storm being over, the community being safe, and the ant and the grasshopper's teamwork has proven to be successful. They had worked together to save their community, and they had shown that when people come together, they can achieve great things. The community was grateful to both the ant and the grasshopper for their hard work and dedication, and their story became an inspiration for future generations to come. The story concludes with the ant and the grasshopper's friendship serving as a reminder that responsibility and hard work are essential for survival, and that helping others is a part of being responsible. The community had come together to survive the storm, and they had shown that when people work together, they can overcome even the toughest of challenges. The ant and the grasshopper's friendship was a reminder that we can always learn from others, and that with hard work and determination, anyone can become a responsible and respected member of the community. They had shown that when we take responsibility for our actions and plan for the future, we can survive even the toughest of times. The ant and the grasshopper's friendship was also a reminder that helping others is a part of being responsible. They had shown that when we help others, we can make a real difference in the lives of others. They had shown that when we come together as a community, we can achieve great things. The story concludes with the ant and the grasshopper continuing to work together, and the grasshopper continues to be a respected member of the community, known for his hard work and his responsible attitude. The community had learned the importance of being responsible, and they continued to work together to ensure that they would always be prepared for the future. The story of the ant and the grasshopper is passed on from generation to generation, serving as a reminder of the importance of responsibility and the power of friendship.